Matter podcast. This is a complete self-promotion podcast. I'm just going to be straight up with you from the beginning. We're not going to talk about any politics on this. We're going to talk about music and, of course, the musical tracks I've written in the album that I have coming out tomorrow. Tomorrow is the launch. So this is, what are we doing this? Friday night, right? So it's the end of January, February 1st, tomorrow is the launch of the album. And with me to listen to some tracks and talk about it is the producer, Tim Bushong, who produces all kinds of things at T. Bush Studios in Syracuse, Indiana. He is also the pastor of Syracuse Baptist Church, and you can follow him on X. What's your X handle?
T. Bush 1689.
So we're going to talk about my album and stuff, obviously, but you have some experience. So I'll just say the reason I wanted to do it with you is because I figured, you already do the intro track. If people don't know, someone just asked me 2 days ago, John, who does your intro tracks? Put me in contact with them because that,
yeah.
No. That, you heard me do it on an acoustic guitar.
Yeah.
And said, let me do a better version, sent it to me. And it's been the track on my podcast ever since. So, I knew you from obviously that, but I've come out to the Jesus and Politics conference at least 3 times. Seen your studio set up, and you were big into Christian music at one time, and obviously you still do Christian albums and so forth, but you used to be touring and so forth, and you know what you're doing. So anyways, I had a good time. I came out there and we spent 2 days, just a day and a half laying down some acoustic guitar and some tracks. And how did you get into this whole thing of recording? Because you do all sorts of genres.
Yeah. Well, I've always been interested in audio. My dad had a reel-to-reel recorder when I was a kid. And so, it's just fun to experiment. Of course, he's recording albums and then playing them back. And okay, that's fine. But then when you have a microphone and you can speed up and slow down. So I would do these long, big, Kelly's Heroes explosions that would just go on and on. But when you slow it down, it sounds great, big and everything. Well, then in high school, I'm going to be a rock star. And so I'm playing guitar, and you just learn to record yourself. And so whatever technology you've got available, whether it's a cassette deck with a mixing board or a couple of mics in the room, you just figure out how to do it, and it becomes kind of enjoyable. So at the end of my touring career that you mentioned, I decided, I've got to prepare for the future. I'm not going to travel. My kids are getting too old for me to be on the road. And so I put together this recording studio. A lot of the gear that I've had for over 25 years now is still excellent. It's not like all technology gets made obsolete. So I hung my shingle out, early 2000, and I had to kind of learn how to work a computer better to get into the music software right off the bat. That was a bit of a learning curve, but I had a guy come from Sweetwater. He was a guy who worked there back when they were just a little place. And I said, hey, I'll just hire you, directly, walk me through some of this, help me set up some templates and get used to, going through it. Cause you want to be future proof, technologically speaking. So anyway, I've been doing this now for over 25 years, all kinds of different styles. Did I play you some of the early hardcore and heavy bands that used to come through here? And it was because they wanted to sound great, big and aggressive, and everything's on 11. Rah, we're just angry young people, and then everything from that to hip hop to country. And then around the time of that, was kind of a recession in the late 2000s, 2008, Too Big to Fail. I started picking up less bands and more singer-songwriters. And that's you. You're a singer-songwriter. You've got a bunch of songs you've already written. They're arranged, and maybe you play guitar, maybe you don't. And I would have them come in, and I would help them kind of realize and inflesh their musical ideas and make them sound like a record. Whether it's like one guy was more of that pop rock, little loops here and there with a rock band, or full on country. I got to send you the link to the hanking it up, jonesing it down song. Man, this is, it's just kind of fun to see people's response to, hey, check this out. That I recorded this 22 years ago. You know, it's just, so I really enjoyed doing the country stuff, though, to be honest.
Yeah.
So I was going back, man, this goes back to 08, 09, where I did 2 full-length country albums. And then in 2001, I did like this kind of gospel quartet album with a guy where I was singing bass and all that.
Did you say daddy sang bass? Did you?
Mama sang tenor. Yeah, I got the hee-haw honeys in the back there.
Bass.
But anyway, so that now is what I primarily do, although I do have a kind of a Celtic punk band coming in next month. They're just, dude, they're, if you remember the song, I'm a sailor peg and I lost my leg climbing up the topsail. It's a band from Boston, but these guys are kind of like that, where they have penny whistle and flute and mandolin and Marshall stacks and rock band. And it's all these guys are so fun to work with. But the majority of my work is doing stuff like we just did with you. Guy comes in, here's my idea. Okay. Sometimes I'm just working with pure scratch tracks, and I do everything. What's nice about your record, and we'll hear some of this, is that you were able to play an awful lot, almost all the acoustic guitar parts, in fact, on the record are you, and you were able to play along with the click track. Well, that way I've got a reference point. So later on, when I add bass guitar, drums, maybe some electric, some background vocals, there's this reference point that we can all play together with.
Right.
And so that's primarily, I pastor full time. I also still tune pianos on the side. But I really do enjoy making music and producing music. And it's probably, to be honest, it's my bailiwick, my wheelhouse.
Yeah. Well, you were in, obviously you talked about like some of the influences and so forth, like hard rock, punk rock, or have metal, I guess.
Yeah.
You were in Love War. You were in the Channel Surfers.
Yeah.
I think you can still find that stuff if you're looking for it.
Yeah, we're on Spotify, people.
We're on Spotify. But you live in the middle of a cornfield. I'm just going to point that out. So
don't forget the woods.
Yeah, I know people are sensitive from Indiana. They don't want to be known.
Oh yeah, we're so you ignorant Hoosiers. Your hair's too long. You're lazy, and your music stinks. And we're like, hey, don't be knocking my music now.
Yeah, well, anyone from outside the Midwest, though, we think the whole Midwest is one big cornfield, I suppose.
Yeah.
There's obviously a lot of country influence in that area. I'm sure that if you walk into a grocery store or there's going to be a lot of country music and so forth.
I just went down to the Walmart, and what do you think was playing outside? It wasn't some kind of hip hop. It was off the country station.
So I know you understood that kind of thing, and I grew up on my parents, I think would say that they're eclectic, but in reality, their eclecticness is anything from like 70s pop to like 80s, 90s Christian contemporary,
right,
to classic country.
Right.
That's
eclectic.
That's the span, I think. Of course, they both enjoy like classical music to some extent. But my mom, where they had point of agreements, I found this with my wife too. Like that's what your kids end up knowing, right? Is what mom and dad will both allow themselves to play cars.
Yeah.
So that was like John Denver, Glenn Campbell. My dad had some like really old like Sons of the Pioneers stuff, and
I love those guys. Yes.
And I'm trying to think what else. Like
what was the act they did? They would bring out a horse skull that was duct taped, and he's like, ladies and gentlemen, I present you with 2 of the most famous horses in the Western film tradition. The top half is Trigger, and the bottom half is none other than the Lone Ranger's horse from the, and he'd make it talk. Oh, they're hilarious.
Wagon shows or something.
Yeah.
There's a lot of like, there's a whole tradition there, which I guess we don't have time to talk about with, like cowboy poetry and rodeo clowns. They have there's this comedic feature even to their poetry, and
Yes.
it comes
Yes.
into like even the newer kind of Western bands. Like I'm trying to think of who is the one that did like the Toy Story movies. There was like that they sound like the Sons of the Pioneers, but they
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
they have this whole comedy routine that they do as well.
Yeah. It's a little tongue in cheek. And I was just literally thinking about this. The difference between Love War and the Channel Surfers is that Love War, we were more serious, apologetic minded, C.S. Lewis and Schaefer, and the music was kind of like progressive metal. The Channel Surfers was much more playful, a little more tongue in cheek, even though we're dealing with some serious subject matter. It was genuinely like, hey, you know, we're all in on this, so let's enjoy the ride, and you know, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But there's definitely a difference between the two. Yeah.
Well, one of the things that I think we were able to do, because you do have such a broad taste, and I mean, you're able to be very versatile with your guitar as well with different styles. But I could tell you things that I knew only someone in your of your generation would be able to understand. Like one of the songs, we'll play it in a moment, but
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
it was like "Gentle on My Mind" guitar or drum brushes. You know,
Yeah, exactly.
Campbell, "Gentle on My," but I was like, Tim will know.
Yeah,
so
Tim will know.
Tim will know. Anyway, all right, let's talk about or wait, do you want to do your video first, and then we'll.
Well, I want people to see that we have
there.
We have evidence of
me recording. Okay. Yeah.
And this is actually tracking I Ain't Apologizing.
Oh yeah. This was the first song on the
So you can see the little at the right of the cursor there, we're recording literally. Oh, it just picked up a sample rate. This beheaded.
Yeah, that's how it is.
Yeah.
It's just me. That's how the whole thing starts, which there's not a whole band there. It's just me and a guitar.
Right.
And I've been in bands. Like I had garage band days with buddies, and I do music ministry at my church and so forth.
Yeah.
But to get everyone to Indiana into the right location, everyone that I would want, I mean, that you're talking a lot of money. And
yeah.
I mean, I was already going there for the conference. So I just said, hey, could we lay down this acoustic guitar and voice track and then bring in the other stuff from a distance? And I was impressed with that because my brother plays on this. There's a flute player from my church.
Yeah.
There's a pianist from my church, Liz. And I just, with my computer, recorded their parts, sent it to you, and it just all flowed.
I'll tell you what, that the advances in technology, I mean, we just take it for granted that you're going to upload the track to a Drive account and I'll grab it and put it where it needs to be. Well, I remember in the late 90s being amazed that the Steve Miller Band was recording across the different coasts with each other by FedExing ADAT tapes to each other, literally physical, property, but it would take a day to get there, and they're paying, exorbitant fee to overnight it, but it's still cheaper than flying everybody out to a big expensive studio. So even then with the DA88 machines and all that stuff, it still made sense to have some kind of little home studio that you could do a lot of work in. And that's where you guys did great. I mean, David's track, your brother David, background vocals, mandolin, your extra stuff, the flute, the piano. We got that all to fit in and sound really nice within the parameter. Plus, then we had the violin player come one afternoon. He just nailed it. Yeah. That's just beautiful stuff.
It was kind of the missing piece, actually, in a way. It really brought in. I mean, I like pedal steel guitar too, but who plays that? So, if you can't, they're not the same, but there's similarities obviously between a fiddle and a pedal steel, and he just kind of filled it in. But all right, so let's get into it. But if people if people want to record with you, I want to give you the plug. How should they contact you?
First deposit. Let's see. No, in my PayPal account, and then I'll respond to you. No, you can find me on X, find me on Facebook, Tim Bushong. Tim Bushong Music is a Facebook page that I have. So I'm easy to get a hold of,
All right. Sounds good. All right. Well, like I got several things queued up here. All right. So the first track, I Ain't Apologizing, obviously did a music video off of this. And that was because of William Wolf, who said, you need to release this before Trump, before the election.
Before the election.
And so we put a rush on it. And you did it in like, I mean, I literally went in there with my acoustic guitar on like Friday, and Monday, I think we had a version.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I did a music video, which you can find online, but this is just a lyric video. And I'll play, how about I play your solo part? Maybe that's a good, where you, if I can.
Yeah, that was kind of a banging country solo. I will.
Just don't go along. So they want to take our children and teach them how to hate the families they grew up in and how to love the state. Where could it be heading when doctors can't do their jobs? Monuments keep falling, police surrender to the mob, and parents can't trust teachers, and teachers can't trust kids, and kids can't tell their parents what bathroom they went in. I ain't apologizing for what I didn't do wrong. The Bible on my dashboard, the flag out on my lawn. And you can bet I'll dig my boots in, 'cause my daddy didn't raise no son who disrespect his country or turn his tail and run.
So right there, that's your solo there. That doesn't sound like a metal guy.
Doesn't sound like metal, does it?
No, that sounds like like a Brad Paisley or a.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, or I mean, Brad Paisley probably would put actually more notes. He's like busy on when he does.
Well, with Brad, he's such a tasty player and such a good overall musician. There's the old adage of serve the song. And, any studio musician, if you're doing a session, you're not there for you. You're there for the producer and the songwriter. And I've had the great privilege of playing on some big productions that were recorded in big studios, along with, the A-list Nashville guys. And everybody understands you are a band. You've never met that guy. You've never met the drummer. And look, right next to you is Bonnie Raitt's guitarist, and he's a big rock star, and he's just a goofball. But you both got to play off each other, so it's not the Tim show or the George Marinelli show, So, but back to your thing. I was born in '60, so lots of musical influences, and I didn't cut my teeth on Black Sabbath or whatever. I cut my teeth to Hee Haw and watching George Jones and Buck Owens do their thing, and Roy Clark, great musicians. Glenn Campbell, oh my stars, these guys are monsters. One of the biggest monster players of the '70s was Jerry Reed. He's known for acting with Burt Reynolds in the those fun Firebird movies.
Smokey
this guy, huh?
Smokey and the Bandit.
Smokey and the Bandit.
Yeah.
with Jackie Gleason. He is a killer player.
Oh, yeah.
Way beyond his hit songs. He's just insanely good. So that would have been when I was a kid and learn, going from bass guitar, that's where I started, to guitar. So I want to learn those licks. Then in high school, it's all AC/DC and Montrose and Rush, and it's got to be heavy. But you never lose that affinity for the country licks and how much cool skill is involved in playing that music.
Kind of like what you were playing there with the bends. I love the bendy guitar and the chicken picks and stuff. I mean, I remember when I took guitar lessons from this older hippie guy, and you know, he knew he had played with Pete Seeger. Pete Seeger's big in my area.
Oh.
He lived in Beacon, New York, which is only like 25 minutes from me. You know, Pete Seeger's, you know, big in the folk music scene.
East, man.
Yeah, and well, Woodstock's only like, you know, an
Yeah.
hour and 15 from me. I mean, it's all over this area. And so he loved all these folk singers, and he'd give me, when I was beginning to learn, all these folk songs that I was supposed to learn. And I just wanted to play what, you know, kind of what you just played. And
Right. Do I have to go through the long slog of Pete, you know, Puff the Magic Dragon or whatever?
It's funny though, his concept of country, because I was like, I want to learn to play some country music. And he sort of like you had in the 70s, I guess, you know, that phase where he says, oh, you know, real men play electric rock and roll guitar. And so he was giving me like, you know, George Harrison stuff. And I was like, I want to play country guitar. So he's given me, you know, for country guitar, I can't even remember what the artist, but, you know, like I think in his mind, Bob Dylan was like country guitar. You know?
Right.
So
right.
Like this isn't what I was thinking. You know,
You're thinking, you were like, I want to play like those honky tonk guys, the outlaw country guys that, you know, that really attack the music with a little more manly aggression. And he's like, oh no, we need to go back to Greenwich Village with all the folk artists.
Yeah, I mean, I like some of. Yeah, I didn't really like Greenwich Village, but I mean, I liked, obviously, you know, John Denver was part of how I grew up, and Glenn Campbell and stuff. But I did like Leonard Skinner. I did kind of like some of the more modern country guys. I liked
Skinner, man.
I obviously like Brad Paisley's guitar work. I thought he was amazing.
Monster.
And yeah, I mean, trying to think, like, you know, Garth Brooks stuff. I love George Strait stuff, and they would have little solos, kind of like what you just played.
Yeah.
Anyway, is that called chicken pick? What's that called?
Well, okay, so about 75% of the way in, where I go where it's real kind of staccato.
Yeah,
that's more chicken pick, but I'm just doing it with a pick. Usually the really good guys will hold the pick in, you know, between their, well, let's have a pick. I have a couple here. For chicken picking, they'll hold the pick, but they'll also use their other three fingers, and that's a whole nother art. So I kind of fake my way into chicken picking with just a pick.
Yeah. Pick. So yeah, I actually, if we had more time, I think there was, you know, a few solos I would have wanted to do on these, but you nailed it. I was like, that's pretty. I couldn't change that even if I wanted to. That's how I want it to sound.
Well, that right there, that's worth the humongous investment you made in your record.
Yeah, well,
but that's what you want. You want, okay, I'm hearing this in my head. I think it's like this. And if the guy can see, I've heard, trust me, as a working with singer-songwriters, more than a couple guys have come from big studios saying, this cost me $1,000 and I never was happy with the guitar work, and I'll play it. And I'm like, what was he thinking? It's all weird, phasey, distorted. And I'll just pick up a guitar and, you mean you want more like this? Well, it's because the other guy was trying to put his stamp on it without really referencing, okay, who is this guy? What is he about?
Right.
What's he saying? And let that be the communicating device rather than, oh, I've got this new piece of gear over here. They'll love it.
And the point is, well, let's play another verse here. So you have flavor.
I wonder what our founding fathers would think if they could see us here, fighting wars a world away while our own borders disappear. Well, I bet they'd have opinions, and I bet they'd state their case, which would likely get them canceled in today's United States. I ain't apologizing for what I didn't do wrong. The Bible on my dashboard, the flag out on my lawn, and you can bet I'll dig my boots in, 'cause my daddy didn't raise no son who disrespect his country.
All right, so basically, this might be the only song on the album where it's you and me, and that's it. There's no, that's just my voice. That's my acoustic guitar, and then you put in the electric, the bass, the drums, or the percussion. And
don't forget Matt Borish did play piano on that.
At the end, there's a
now.
Yep.
Now here's the thing: we were on such a limited time, right? And so I just wanted that bedrock of piano, okay? Just having piano in the song with chords. So he was kind of playing whatever. I went in and added some of that run that goes between the second to the last chorus and the last chorus, ding 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 ding. I was just like, I want to hear that, and so I'm a producer. I can do whatever I want. So I just put that in there. I've done that tons of times. Where you want
conference, and literally we're in your kitchen, and I said Matt's coming early, or you said that, and I said, yeah, he plays piano, and you looked at me, and I'm like, oh. So we got him in the studio, and the guy was put to work as soon as he showed up. And he played for this one and one other song. But the point of this song, and I think the style, I love it when the words and the style flow together. And I think this is an example of that, like, perfectly, because the whole point of the song is that we've lost our way in the United States. We don't remember who we are. We're ripping down elements of our heritage. We're canceling people who are just telling the truth about things. And, we lived through this in 2020. I don't need to expand on that. I have friends who were hurt by that. But
yeah.
But the point is to get back to this traditional kind of patriotic, pro-regional, pro-American, pro-local, pro-Christian spirit. And
yeah.
And I mean, country music says that best. I think that's what, it's heartland. It's the kind of thing that, all members of the family can kind of gather around. Anyway, you have a video here of Matt,
Matt. It's just a picture of Matt. I mean, this poor guy, I gave him a cheaper Casio, doesn't even have weighted keys, plopped the chords in front of him. And by goodness, why didn't he execute, under extreme pressure? Here I'm trying to get him to play, New Orleans style jelly rolls. And he's like, I don't know.
Sergeant shooting bullets above his head, and he still played. So
he still played. Hey, kudos to Matt. By goodness.
All right. Yeah. All right. Next song. All right. So this is the title song. I actually changed it. I think I originally told you it was going to be, "Oh, Grace, how great your story." And then I changed it to, because I was thinking originally of doing like a whole worship music kind of, and I just, I couldn't write as many songs as I wanted to write in the time frame.
Right.
And I realized, you know what? It's fine. this is basically who I am. This is a little sample of all these different experiences and feelings and so forth. And so I thought the thing that really brings the whole album together, if you wanted to make one theme, is, this is getting back to, it's a recovery of the things that made Christian, and specifically Christian American civilization, what it was. Mm-hmm. I think every song just about has an element of that, whether in the music or in the lyrics or both. I want to communicate that there's something in the past that's worth retaining and not giving up. And whether that's the wisdom of Proverbs for your children, or whether that's the fidelity between a man and his wife, or whether that's the country. These are all things that I think used to mark us that don't anymore as much. And it's good to remember and recover those.
Yeah.
So anyway, this song, I just thought this really is the theme song, and it's called "Driving Down a Mountain Road." I'll say this briefly. I don't know if I told you this, Tim. I wrote this right after driving around the Catskill Mountains. I was a furniture repairman, and some days they'd put me in Westchester County. Some days I'd be in Connecticut. Some days I'd be like in Yonkers. Some days I'd be in, in these more urban or suburban settings. But I loved it when I could be in a rural area in the Catskill Mountains, going to someone's home, and their driveway is about a mile long, and you get to the end, and it's just a family that loves their country. Dad's probably a vet from Iraq or Afghanistan. And, you go inside, and they're usually very practical about their furniture. People in Westchester County just, I don't like the light when it looks on it that, it's,
right.
Like, they're very practical. They're like, the frame of my couch is broken and I can't sit on it. And it's like,
right.
I can help you with that.
But a need rather than a want,
Yeah, it's more practical. It's more efficient, and I don't know, tangible. They're into not the appearance, but it's for their family. That's why they have furniture. Anyway, I was just thinking about, these beautiful areas where there's mountain creatures, the turkey, obviously, you know, their turkey crossed in front of me, I'm sure on more than one occasion, on deer, and they hunt, they fish, you know, and these guys just seem to be friendlier and happier and have a love for their family that I don't see as reflected in urban areas. You know about that in Indiana where you are. So, so I wrote, that's what the song's about. And I don't think I changed much, but I wrote that like 15 years ago. So here's a little sample.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Some of these songs I wrote a long time ago.
Driving down a mountain road, flock of turkeys in front of me. Pine cleansed air on a weary soul, best thing God made to breathe. And suddenly it occurs to me, the truth I see today. The things I'm truly grateful for are found within this place, where husbands and wives stick together, whether worse or whether better. Smiling children shoot each other with potato guns. Old recipes come from the kitchen. It's a life that's worth living. Ever since I can remember when I was young. The apple tree.
You haven't seen this yet, have you?
No.
So all the footage from this was one day a few weeks ago. I went deep into the Catskill Mountains for a winter hike.
Oh yeah.
And so I just had my phone, you know, filming the road, and put a little effect on it. And I thought, well, this would make a great lyric video because this is the area that I wrote it about.
Sure. Yeah.
So, I mean, you can see how stunning it is. And I mean, I think it's beautiful. Maybe.
Oh, it is. Dude, this is, you know, Washington Irving country here.
Oh, yeah.
Gorgeous.
Van Winkle stuff.
Yeah. Yes.
This is from the Western Catskills, actually, and off 17 corridor. But, you know, yeah, this was a little more complicated. There's a key change in it and a bridge later on. But
well, let's tell everybody the technical hurdle we had was that we spent about 45 minutes getting that initial guitar track, because there's a lot to it.
Oh,
we're doing finger picking and all that. Well, come to find out, it was about 3.5 steps too high for the key change vocal. Where's husbands and wife? And you were just, I'm like, oh boy, that's not working. So I put a pitch shifter on it. It worked okay, but it's never quite perfect. And so you ended up retracking your acoustic guitar where you are in the right key. I said, just play along with it. And I was able to, you know, there's little idiosyncrasies here and there with guitar playing, and I was able to get it all worked in there. And at first I put them both together. I'm like, well, that's kind of cool. Big stereo. Nah, didn't need that. And I had added some left-right acoustic capoed up, so it wasn't stepping on any of your, you know, chord voicings. For the choruses, you know, when it comes in, it kind of blossoms a little bit like that. So we were able to use the re-recorded guitar track that you sent me from your house. Well, I think that's kind of cool.
Is that all you used? I actually don't know this. Or did you still keep the old?
Nope.
No, nope. Good.
Got rid of that. So yeah. all that is the re-recorded track.
In my office, sitting at this phone. All right.
In front of these microphones, you know, that everyone has, the Rode and other ones, those are just the same capsule as any other studio mic like this. You know, this one plugs through my system and I sing through it and blah, blah, blah. But it's the same technology, only it's connecting via just straight USB. So yeah, it's good stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe I can find that area where there's the key change. Let's see.
The place where I was last. And if I ask the Lord above to tell me about the way a man can live a happy life, I bet that he would say Families that pray before their supper when enemies love one another. Sacrificing for your brother when he's down. A sunset sky as Grandpa's singing on the front porch as we're swinging. When a sinner starts believing in the Lord, it's not all gone. We carry on since I was young. Driving down a mountain road, flock of turkeys in front of me.
Well, I made up new lyrics. Driving down a mountain road, stupid deer ran into me.
If
Yeah.
Sure enough, you could have the grandma got run over by reindeer. Yeah, once your song has parodies of it, that's when you know you've made it.
You've made it. That's right.
People
if you get
know
a call from Weird Al, man, take it.
he's the key to success.
He's the key.
I forgot what I was going to say, but it's beautiful scenery. And I wrote this. I actually did this at my church years ago. It's like 15 years ago or more.
Mm-hmm.
I remember thinking after I did it, I was like, I'm not going to do that again because, I was stepping out on a limb a little bit. At church, you're so used to worship songs and so forth. And so I wrote 2 songs. One of them's not on the album, maybe a future project.
Right.
But
yeah.
I did this whole thing on Psalm 1, I think it was. And, and so, people came up to me. I love that Psalm 1. I love that Psalm 1 thing you did. And this one, like, just crickets. And, I think it's because it's, I don't know, like you're just not used to hearing it's not a Christian song. Like it's not a worship song. It's not a congregational song. It definitely flows though from a Christian ethos.
That's right. That's right. Well, the same principle would be like, oh, I painted this lovely landscape. I'd better tack a Bible verse down in the corner or people won't think it's Christian.
Right.
That's just goofy. Come on.
And that's the thing. Like, I don't want any of the songs and I don't purposely have to think about it. I just write what I feel, who I am. I don't force stuff into it that is a natural this is just, I had this experience. I'm going to write about it. And anyway,
but that's what most people can relate to.
Yeah.
And this is all part of folk music, country music. You were talking about country as being this American thing. Well, yeah, most folk music that came over from Scots Irish background, even the German folk music gets filtered and reprocessed as country music and our kind of folk music, American. And it's generally intentionally not too challenging intellectually. It's just talking about things. Okay, I went to work and my boss, I about killed him, and so there's a funny song in there somewhere called I ain't a working here no more. Johnny Paycheck. Right. Take this job. And so everyone goes, been there. Yeah, that guy couldn't manage his way out of a wet paper bag, and he's going to tell us how to run the assembly line. What a jerk.
It's very populist music. There's more music stations by far than any other genre in the United States.
Oh, yeah. I can't believe how, even around here, they say Northern Indiana is a little bit like the South. Well, it is in some, especially this northeastern corridor. But if I'm driving around and it's the radio, I probably don't want to hear modern country. I don't really care for it, but there it is, in all of its splendor.
Yeah, I like these real country stations that you'll hear when you're driving. I don't know if it's like a one genre or brand or subsidiary, but it's called real country. And and they'll have some modern stuff, they'll have old stuff, but it sounds country. It's not pop, and I can't stand pop.
Well, that whole trap,
yeah,
and putting it that's not country. What I want is nothing will be as cool as Conway Twitty in a faux leather suit. Hello, darling. Nice to see you. I mean, that's
I write a song like that. Only my wife's hearing it.
Bingo, because the effect that it has on grandma.
Gosh,
We're a little concerned now.
All right,
This is real life, right?
It is, and that's what one of the things about country music I've said, and some Christians give me the side eye on this, but I like country music. Yeah, they talk about drinking. They talk, and I think lately it's veered more into a pop direction. Some of it where they really are glorifying those things, but traditionally,
right,
they kind of want music. And I feel like an old man now. When I was young, but when I was in the '90s, country music, when they talked about drinking, and this goes all the way back to the '30s, you got your comeuppance the next day. It wasn't just we're gonna have a good old time. It's we're gonna have a good old time, and it ain't gonna. There's gonna be consequences.
There will be consequences. There will be blood.
Or they made humorous. I'm gonna make a wino. Or for
right.
We're gonna turn the home into a bar. So and it's like it's making a point. Those songs sometimes are very good because they actually, and we're gonna get into this in a moment on the song I wrote about the Proverbs 7 woman, but. These songs, I think they're not glorifying evil all the time. They're actually telling you, they're warning you about the consequences. Brad Paisley's song "Alcohol." That song is about how you make a fool of yourself when you drink. That's the whole point of it. You have a great time, but guess what? You don't remember it. It's and that's so. I want to be real to life. I think country music is strong in that it is very real to how life is. It reflects how we actually live our lives, but it does so accurately, not with this veneer of you're not going to wake up the next morning with a hangover, because guess what? You are, and your wife might not be there. Hope to fish.
Right. Well, what's the old joke? You play country music backwards.
Yeah,
you sober up. Your wife comes back. Your dog raises from the dead.
Yeah. Anyway, all right. What's the next one? It's a Wonderful Day. So this one is
Wonderful Day.
If I can find the beginning here. So, all right, here's how this one sounds. This is something that I was hoping, I haven't done it yet, but you could do as congregational singing at church.
It's a wonderful day, bless the Lord, he has made us glad in the land of the living. Let his favor rain down, let it cover the ground as we sing our song of thanksgiving. You plan the light of the sun, the rays that greet us each morning. And you know every bird of the hills while they wake to sing you glory. Who am I that you should care? Your love for me is everywhere, and it's a wonderful day. Bless the Lord, he has made us glad in the land of the living. Let his favor rain down, let it cover the ground as we sing our song of thanksgiving. You made the mountain strong and the earth to spring forth water. Your hand carries rivers along, and they feed our sons and daughters. Who am I that you should care? Your love for me is everywhere, and it's a wonderful day. Bless the Lord, he has made.
All these images from the lyric video are West Virginia, because we talked about this, and I said give it kind of, I think this was the one I was like, kind of a John Denver feel to it, and that's what you have. You have fiddle, you have banjo, and it's a story. So each of these songs, even the worship songs, there's a story connected to it. It's a guy getting up in the morning and he's greeting the day, and I think everyone has a choice at the beginning of the day. What kind of a day is this going to be? I'm a sinner. I'm a Calvinist, right? So, I mean, that's the tradition I come from. So I know about, Lord, I'm a worm, watch me squirm kind of stuff.
Yeah.
This is an antidote to that in my mind, is that who am I that you should care? But your love for me is everywhere. Like, I don't have to know why. You just love me. And here's all the evidence of it.
Yeah.
And that's, so I don't know, any production thoughts or whatever.
Yeah. So this was and it ended up being one of my favorite songs. It was one of the later ones that I was putting all the other parts on. It's just right. Believe it or not, here's Metalhead Tim Bush song. This is right up my alley with the Gentle on My Mind brush drums, the bass line. I just love playing that stuff because it's so simple. You're going to be in the pocket. David's banjo just took it to the next level. The fiddle, which, by the way, that guy, why can I never remember his name? Oh, you probably remember his name. No,
Who?
The Travis Gow. Travis, sorry, brother. Sorry, brother. He just comes in. It's like easy. Oh, this is what I do, you know. And so I got it all done, and I'm like, you know, I want the chorus to open up a little. That's part of, you know, pop country music. You hit the chorus and it kind of goes like this. Well, you don't want to put in some kind of fake orchestral strings to carry it, or, you know, there's no real, other than piano, there's no fake keyboards on this record. I thought, hey, why not some nice ooze? A nice 3-part stereo. So I would, you know, each part is tracked twice, put left and right. That way it sounds like there's 6 people going, ooh, and you do all the different harmonies and just tuck them up in there. And oh my goodness, warms the cockles of your heart.
Yeah. And I know a lot of people need their cockles in their heart
warmed. Yes.
Yeah, problem.
Cold cockles. I'm telling you. And that's part of the Frozen Chosen. Like you said, worm, watch me squirm. I need my cockles warmed.
You know, and I used to write songs like that. And I mean, there's obviously scripture that talks about how depraved we are and can be and so forth. But
sure,
that used to be such a focus during my, like, I was very Cage stage kind of, you know, Paul, let's just listen to that Shocking Youth Message for the 5th time.
Yeah.
So I really feel beat up. And, you know,
I'm talking about you.
Yeah, but I realized what I was doing. Like, I'm literally focusing on myself every time. And I need that high. I need that feeling of guilt to feel like I've really paid for it. You know, like Christ hasn't paid for it. I need to feel guilty.
Right.
And that was so unhelpful. And
it's like the monks in Monty Python with the books. Boom. You know,
that was not the first reference I thought, but I
am a boomer. Thank you.
Yeah, I can't understand it. But yeah, so I wrote this song as sort of an antidote, but it just, you know, I felt this way. I'm trying to remember when I wrote it. I wrote it. I don't even remember what particular day, but that was what I kept thinking was like, I'm a sinner, but you know what? God still loves me. Isn't that great?
Well, when Travis was here, I was talking about, you know, this song in particular, and just kind of telling him, said, oh yeah, this is all just part of, you know, walking in faith, and, you know, letting God be God in your life and all that. So it's always, I always love having those opportunities, you know, with the folks I'm working with. You're
saying there could be some non-Christian notes in the song.
I'm saying that exact thing.
Yeah.
Here he is, Travis Gow, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
In this same room. Just a really, really fine musician. And I love working with him. He's gonna,
his beard reminds me of William Lee Holden from the Oak Ridge Boys a little bit.
He'll take that as a high compliment. And he's going to be playing. He'll be playing on the next Battle Hymns too. He played on Battle Hymns, Hail to Jesus, and so this next one he's going to be on too.
If it gets a little longer, he's in ZZ Top range, but it's got to get a little longer. So.
Right.
Anyway, all right, let's go to the next one. So this one is a near and dear to me song. I wrote this actually originally about, I thought I was going to have a son. We never specified. We didn't want to know, right? But I have 2 brothers, and my dad is one of 3, and my cousins are 3, and it's only 3 boys.
Wow.
And his cousins are 3. So I thought to myself, we're going to have a boy, clearly. And then surprise, the day that my daughter was born, she didn't happen to be a boy. And I'm not into that whole, you know, let's let them choose their gender thing. I don't know about you, a little old fashioned.
Yeah.
So
it's that commitment to natural law, I think.
I have a commitment to God and his rules. So I decided I would change some lyric rather than change my daughter's gender. or, which I can't do anyway, I would just change a few lyrics to my song. I thought that would be a little easier. So that's
there you go. That's always the best route.
It's a wiser move. And and so the song is Brussels sprouts. I'll play a little. This is kind of a ragtime, Toy Story, Friend and Me type of feel.
Yeah.
I suppose.
Brussels sprouts are good for you. Trust me when I say they'll help you live to see a ripe old age. And whining doesn't solve that much, it only adds to pain. Save your crying for another day. When you're riding bikes and flying kites, it might not seem like much to you, but these days only last so long. So take your time and run outside and play with all your toys, and know the difference between right and wrong. Do your best to pass the test, and if you don't succeed, you did your best, and that's what counts to me. Find a friend you can depend on, don't bully on the weak. Treat the boys you know with courtesy. It won't take much time to realize the freedom that you'll have. Keep both hands on the wheel and look ahead. Don't worry about tomorrow, it will get here when it comes. Remember what the Bible always said. Keep your name respectable, don't just follow what the crowd.
Dude, did you pay folding money for that stock footage?
No, I spent a long time looking for stuff that at least potentially could look like my daughter. I mean, it's different. Not my daughter's not in this, but
right.
My wife would not allow that, I don't think.
Yeah, it's weirdos out there.
But I found a lot of stock footage, and
it works. It works great. So
yeah.
With that song, we were doing fiddle, and I said, I don't think we're going to have. Now we could have had violin on that song. It would have worked. I wanted to keep it more honky tonk, and then after the fact, he'd already gone home. I'm like, no, wait a minute, you idiot. That would have worked, but here we are. We got the.
No, I think it's
the kind of that electric guitar part that's just doing the nice kind of ninth and sixth chords over top of everything, little licks in between lyric lines, and then Matt's piano is right there along with your guitar and the cool little shuffle drum part.
What guitar did you use? I know you used the Telecaster for like the honky tonk sounding stuff.
I'm pretty sure I used the Les Paul on that, probably because of you put it in between the two humbuckers and you get that kind of, you can do that jazzy flavor.
Reverb, a warm reverb type.
Yeah, that was probably a software amp, to be honest. Oh. So I've been, for those kind of tones, it is just so much easier to plug directly into my, like a tube preamp. And then I've got a huge palette of things I can mess with. Now, if we play some of Quit, okay, we're going to go old school. And when I'm doing heavy guitars, no, we're plugging into real amps, turning them real loud, and putting real microphones in front of real cabinets, not software.
Well, the point of the song, the reason I wrote it was lessons for my child, and a lot of them transferred, boy or girl, but some of them I did change as a girl, and what I would expect them to be like, behave like, and the main theme or the point that I end the song with and I begin the song with is that Brussels sprouts are good for you. You might not like them.
Yeah. It's kind of a metaphor for, I know this is unpleasant at the time, but trust me, it pays off great dividends in the future.
Yeah. Don't just give in to your vices throughout life. Delayed gratification is a Christian virtue. And I don't know if you saw it. So I didn't see this at first Tim, let me see if I can go back to it. There's a scene here. I don't know if it'll let me. Hold on. Where she's in a car, right? And,
yeah, and
yeah. Well, I can't now. I am having a hard time skipping around.
Oh, there's the future where
she's getting married.
Mr. Right.
Yeah.
You might find there's someone special in the town you thought you knew, and then he catches you with just a smile. And sometimes you might look back on the house that you passed through and think about us for a little while.
As a man who has given 2 daughters in marriage, all my kids are married, I have 3 children, but I can tell you right now that if you, and maybe this is a way to encourage young parents. I'm actually doing a podcast next week with Alex Kochman about covenantal Baptist parenting. I think it's going to be good. You create a household, an environment that is home, that's a sanctuary from the world out there. And let me tell you, your kids will think about you not just once in a while, but they continue in that. Of course, they're married. It's a whole nother household, different covenantal arrangement. But mom and dad are spoken of and referred to with great affection, great love. There's nothing that gives me more pleasure or satisfaction than when I hear over here or somebody said, "Oh, your kids were mentioning you," or whatever. I'm like, okay, thank you, God. Thank you. That was great. And it still is.
That's good for me to hear with the young daughter who's only 7 and almost 7.5 months. But
oh, dumpling.
Yeah, oh my gosh. Yeah, I miss her right now. But anyway, yeah, it's I've just some mush now. It's just pathetic, but it's also wonderful at the same time, right?
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I mean, you know, as Doug Wilson said, I'm so Calvinist, my back teeth hurt. But I mean, people, yeah, you know, it's one of those. Then he'll make the other point of, yes, but it's okay to cry when Boromir is dying.
If you have a daughter, this is a good song. I was going to
wonderful.
Say, Matt did the keys on this.
Yeah,
Matt. Yeah. Borish again. So
remember we had him do that lick. I said, "Well, try this."
We had him try it 1,500 times.
Poor guy. Yeah.
So all right. Well, the next one. Okay, so this one is fun. This I like this.
Oh
one.
yeah,
like,
yeah.
I'm gonna going out west somewhere, and anyway. Oh, that's Tim Bushong's whistle as well. So.
Well.
I'm leaving, making my way back to you. In the evening I'll make my stand on a road that's leaving town, keeping my feet on the ground till all is love at last. When your face ends my path, I hear her voice, sounds like a wind chime. I hear her voice, sounds like a wind chime. Each note that I hear warns of storms coming near, beauty mixed with power. I see her eyes flash like the lightning. I see her eyes flash like lightning. Each glass that I see is a deep memory, burning with desire. And in the morning I'm leaving, making my way back to you. In the evening I'll make my stand on a road that's leaving town, keeping my feet on the ground till all is love at last, and your face ends my path. I sense her touch, feels like a cool rain. I sense her touch, feels like a cool rain. Each drop that I sense is a feeling too intense, softness and a smile. I feel her smile shine in the darkness. I feel her smile shine in the darkness. Each glow that springs forth is a powerful force, overcoming the dark. And in the morning I'm leaving, making my way back to you. In the evening I'll make my stand on a road that's leaving town, keeping my feet on the ground, till all is love at last, when your face ends my path. And in the morning I'm leaving, making my way back to you. In the evening I'll make my stand on a road that's leaving town, keeping my feet on the ground, till all is love at last, when your face ends my path.
Let me find my pack of Marlboros here, John.
I thought you were Baptist.
But I mean, how evocative is all of that together? I mean, just
are you impressed? I mean, I'm impressed with the mix that you did, but the images I got, like,
well, I'll be honest. We were conversing over the mix and whether, which way to go, and I finally said, I've got to mix this like I hear it in my head. So we put that harmonica part way back in the, the spaghetti Western land, lots of old tape echo sounds on it. So you're like Clint Eastwood.
Yeah. I play the harmonica for those who don't know.
Yeah.
I sent those to you.
And the little Telecaster part that buttresses the got it, that had to be there. Have the tremolo guitar way over on, I think it's on the left on the mix. The other guitar's on the right. And then all that fiddle stuff was just, mwah. Did you catch that right before it goes back into the fast part? I said, you got to do one of those. And there it was. The guy pulled it off,
No, it was perfect.
So happy. So happy with that one. I'm going to have
to do an acoustic one for my wife. So my wife only knows me playing it on my guitar, which,
right.
And I do the riff and everything. And, with all the embellishments and the Western stuff, it doesn't, I think it sounds awesome, but she's like, well, it's, it's that stripped down personal song that you wrote me. Where's that? And I'm like, oh, there. But we just had to Clint Eastwood it up a little bit,
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely a masculinity to the sound of it. There's no doubt. And I wanted that because I wrote this when I was in seminary, and my wife, now wife, I wasn't married to her at the time. We were dating, but she was 8 hours from me, at least 10 hours. Right. I would jump in my truck at like 10 p.m. and drive all night on a weekend to see her for just a weekend sometimes.
Yeah.
I don't know why I did that. Now I'm like, I would never.
Oh, I know why. I know why you did that.
I do know why.
It's the sweet sting of young love. I mean, let's face it, man.
I would not even sleep. I just like,
right. Now that you've been married a while, you're like, well, was I thinking? I'll tell you what you were. I'll tell you what you were thinking. You were a young man in love.
Yes, I think I was. And that's what came out of me. So I wrote that song. And but I was thinking about, cowboys like on the range and not seeing the or whatever, or, military families. And so, once you get in that car or whatever, horse, whatever, you're going to see the one you love. And at the end of that ride, there's a reward. And so that's what I wrote about. And there's nothing else to it. That's what it is. So.
That's it. The three things I don't understand, the eagle in the sky, snake on the rock, and man's way with a maiden. I don't get it. How does that work? I know people try to make that some ethical thing. I'm like, I don't think that's what he's saying. I don't, honestly.
He's saying it's just beyond me. There's incredible godly, intelligence behind these things beyond us.
Yes.
Feel it.
Yes, I agree.
We cannot put our finger on it.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, that's let me just say, from a purely production musician standpoint, that was a lot of fun to put together and then mix and try to evoke those kinds of big landscape images. Well, you just did it. You put real landscape. That's exactly what it is.
Yeah, I took a lot of shots from Monument Valley in Arizona, and then from Joshua Tree Park in California.
Yeah.
That's what I found.
My son and his wife actually visited there. They were.
Have you? Yeah, both of them.
Very taken. Yep.
Yeah, Joshua Tree. People do a lot. It used to not be a national park. So my grandpa was a kid, or not a kid, but like in his maybe 30s. They would go camp there, and it was, that was a time in California where you just plop down and camp anywhere you want. No one's going to tell you.
Yeah.
No one cares. And this was before the hippies, right?
Yeah.
Now it's a park, and you got to have permits, and there's restricted areas and so forth. But
did you ever see the King of the Hill where they go to that parking space near their town, and then the hippies come in and ruin everything? It's the same thing. It's great.
Personally, didn't it? Didn't you have hippies in your backyard that were?
Oh yeah, I told you about that.
Yeah.
Yes, in my woods right over there. Oh, this would have been in 74, man. Oh,
what a time to be alive.
What a nightmare.
That's one of the things, not to get too off track, but one of the things that kills a lot of the Christian leftist stuff, because what's his name at Sojourners, Jim Wallace, and
Wallace, Ron Sider,
basically communes. So many people were. Calvary Chapel even came out of some of that, right? But the problem is when people actually became Christians, they get married, have kids, grow up, get jobs, cut their hair, a shirt, and it kind of killed it. Like, they weren't progressives anymore.
Dude, I remember one Cornerstone Festival, one of the speakers was, getting a little worked up over, what happened to all those, all those little Bible stuff, all the people that profess Christ, where are they now? And even back then, this is like 25 years ago or 30, I was like, I'll tell you where they're at. They're living in the suburbs, working a job, married, and got 4 kids. That's what happens to people.
Voting Republican.
Real life. Right.
Yep.
Especially if they're business owners.
So this one's really short. This is kind of like the arrangement is great because it introduces another worship song in the sequence. But
yeah,
this is something you could do in church as just a reflective melody or whatever. But it's Isaiah 26 verses 3 and 4, I believe. And it's just a musical interpretation of that. So, and of course I got castles in the background because it sounds kind of medieval. It's just me and my guitar.
The steadfast of mind you will keep in perfect peace, because he trusts in you. Trust in the Lord forever, for in God the Lord we have an everlasting rock. For in God the Lord we have an everlasting rock.
That's it.
Pretty straightforward. There you go. About that. A verse. I don't know if you found this, but I can memorize a verse when it's set to music so much better. So, part of the reason that I did that, I want to remember it, and I just, when I have a tune, I remember it. So,
how many old scripture songs you start reading the passage, and instead of reading the passage, you're singing the song in your head.
Yeah. I used to do that with all my Awana verses. I would make up my for them. Sometimes they made no sense to anyone else, but I'm like, no, that's how I memorize it.
Yeah.
So
that was cool. And if you recall, we did 5 takes of the vocals.
Did we really?
We did. And so that very typical though. I'm telling you, there's nothing to be ashamed of. That vocal pass is combining all 5 into one good take.
5 different me's for the metaverse, all into
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Right.
Frankenstein, John. So
And I do, come on, we're not gonna not use technology if it's there. And everybody hates that fake auto-tune sound. It's not real.
Yeah.
But you can use it judiciously to help sing. And I've been doing it for 25 years using the same kind of software. No big deal. It still counts to have a great vocal performance to start with.
Well, here's the next one. What is this? This is Oh Grace, How Great Your Story. So I wrote this next song after I returned from Colorado and New Mexico, seeing some beautiful landscapes, and I wrote it in about 20 minutes. There's that old. I've referenced John Denver. James White's gonna love this podcast because I've referenced John Denver like 5 times.
Yeah.
There's the story of Annie's song, which is one of his hits. He wrote it on a ski lift. He literally got on the ski lift. By the time they dropped him off, he had written Annie's song, and this one's kind of like that. Like it just flowed. And we've done this at my church a few times, and the congregation seems to like it. So
yeah.
If you want the music, Matt Borish has actually put the actual notes with the chords together for this song and the Thanksgiving song.
Awesome.
Yep. JohnHarrisTunes.com. You can download it, do it at your church.
Wonderful.
I wrote it and I don't care. You don't have to pay me anything. Just do it. It'd be nice if you downloaded my album and gave it a good review, but
that's right. Yeah. No one's discounting that.
So here it is.
Oh, Grace, how great your story. Oh, light, how bright you shine. Extend the Father's glory over this short life of mine. I was gone in prison for a time, waiting judgment for a life of crime. Then the doors they broke and opened wide. I'm alive, I'm alive. Oh, Grace, how great your story. Oh, light, how bright you shine. Extend the Father's glory over this short life of mine. I was slave to sins I cannot name.
So basically, this song progresses through. If you listen to all the verses, all the way, like a lot of gospel songs used to be like this, from the point of salvation and being lost to being found, and that's where
right.
Modern songs end. You're found, but this also at the end, I'll show you. I try to like illustrate the whole thing with like mountains that are bigger and bigger, climbing up the heights, but eventually, you're in Alaska and you're seeing the northern.
Right.
You're in you're with God in heaven.
Then you're in outer space and you see the first human settlement on Mars, and there's First Baptist of Mars.
Man, I don't know.
Rod Martin, call your office.
Maybe my daughter Anna would be part of that.
So what's interesting on this is that when you first played it and we were talking about, because you're going to, Saturday's the conference, and then you'll be, heading home and stuff. So we got to figure out, okay, what kind of treatment do we want to give this song? Mm-hmm. And I was like, well, obviously this needs the full band treatment. It needs all the stuff, all the instruments, Hammond B3, whatever else we can put in there. And when I did the drum part, so I'm not a drummer. I can play drums. I'm a bass player, guitar player. I can sing, I can do keyboards, but let's face it, I didn't spend all of my formative years playing drums. I play guitar. So I did what I heard in my head. Boom. And in the end, it was just like, that's too busy.
Mm-hmm.
That's taking up too much sonic real estate. And so I ended up re-recording the entire drum kit, because it was like, I think the drums are too loud. And I'm like, well, they're not even loud. They were too busy. So when I re-recorded it, I said, let's keep it simple, stupid. Do a couple fills that are just right in the low pocket. Keep that snare on the backbeat, kick on 1, 2, 3, 4. And it worked great. I love it now.
It sounds good for congregational singing. It's
yeah.
And, I actually had a lady, a young woman from my church who plays flute. She's played with me on stage. Let me see if I can find the verse where she contributes here.
Oh, grace, how great your story. Oh, light, how bright you shine. Extend the Father's glory over this short life of mine.
And then Liz, who's the pianist at my church, also did some work for this. So it is kind of like, it does sound like me on Sunday morning with the full bass team that we have. This is kind of what it sounds like. Yes, I think it came out pretty good. And I love these lyric videos. I really started to get into that. I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to get all this stock footage and make a whole theme. But it's supposed to be like a guy is hiking. And it's like an illustration of the Christian life, kind of like Pilgrim's Progress, and it's flat and you're in this dry area. And then, but you keep ascending higher and higher and higher. And then, to this beautiful, majestic place. So, and then the next one, we're going to probably have to play this whole thing, aren't we?
Which one is it?
You know which one it is.
She's the girl that thinks she's having all the fun. Stolen bread is sweeter than the vow she took before God. Wandering this world, she's just a modern day gypsy. You know the girl, her smile is deceived. Some have tried to tame her, but her house leads to the pit. But can you really blame her? Cause they follow her like bulls to market. When she says I love you, it's a figure of speech. Some have thought they've had her, but she's never in their reach. I know her game, I know her style. This walking heartache drives men wild. It won't take long for you to know. You'll have your fun and then she'll go. She's a wild tornado, a dust storm from a western sun, an avalanche that races by, leaves her victims on the run. A volcano in the mountains, her fire breaks the strongest heart. If you know what's good for you, you'll quit before you start.
I mean, it's supposed to be a warning. Like, this is how your life's going to wind up.
Quit before you start. Don't put your feet in those waters, man.
Yeah. Maybe
it will not end well.
You got your guitar out. Did you want to?
Well, I wanted to just show everybody. This is actually the second guitar that I ever purchased. It's a 1959 Gibson Melody Maker. Actually, that was a result of it getting caught in a ceiling fan in a bar. And so I've had this since high school, and I actually still have the first guitar I ever bought, but it's going to get frets replaced and stuff. Anyway, so this was my main axe for many years. And so for one side of the guitar tracks, the two electrics, I said, let's go completely old school. I did that Facebook post on it. Plug this guitar straight into a Marshall 50-watt combo, put a mic in the front of the speaker, and then another mic behind. And you put those two mics out of phase so that the air movement is congruous. Then you mix in that back mic just enough to give it that kind of throaty coolness. And then the other side, I tracked with the Telecaster right above my finger into the tube preamp with software amp, and I mixed the two together. And there's just something about that kind of, I call it just a plain old rock and roll guitar. It's not metal, it's not hard rock, but it's got that kind of cool edge to it where stuff is breaking up just right, not overly distorted, but not a country clean either. And so you mix those two together and put the acoustic right up the middle with the vocal. The acoustics providing all of that down up jangly, where the tambourine and the shaker would usually be. That's acoustic guitar. And then over top of all of that is the slide guitar, little haunting riff that kind of brings you into the song. That's more of a rock sensibility. And of course, the tempo, the drum part, the bass playing, that's all right in my alley. I played for years in cover bands too. And so you end up playing music. Maybe it's not your personal favorite, but it'll get the dance floor popping.
No, I liked it. So when I heard it, I was like, oh, because you turned around with this, like it was perfect the first time. I was like, oh, Tim's in his element. This is
that's true. That's very true.
There is, if I could pull it up here, so this is from my garage band days. Let me see if I can pull it up here.
Manual battle station. And you post.
So, I mean, that was one of those things. I mean, you know how it goes, right? It's like,
yeah,
oh, man, check this out. Look at this. Oh, sounds awesome. We're going to be so famous. This is, no one's ever thought of this. And
oh, trust me, man. I remember that, you were mentioning Skynyrd way back. And I'm like, that's the very first song I ever learned to sing and play guitar at the same time was Sweet Home Alabama. And I remember discovering how you could kind of separate what you're doing here with what you're doing here.
Uh-huh.
And all of a sudden the world opened up and I'm going to be a rock star.
Yeah.
And then you go in your friend's house or your practice garage and you're listening to Rush and Queen and all the rock bands. You're like, that's what we're going to do.
my friend who wrote it at the time, I mean, he was influenced by a lot of different things. I mean, it was early 2000s. So
yeah,
I think he listened to like Seether and I mean, he listened to some old stuff too, though. He had like Metallica and stuff like that. I remember, but I'd drive with him a lot of places. So he had his CDs in the car.
Mm-hmm.
Did I say Evanescence?
Yeah.
What was the big Switchfoot, the Christian rock band, So he listened to those. Those were some of his big influences. And he started this thing and you could hear his, Heavy Distortion. And the problem was that we never did anything with it. It was, our garage band sessions were just us talking about how great we were going to be and jamming to some chords, but never really doing much with it.
Yeah.
We did like one gig towards the end and, right before we all had to go to college and so forth. And that's actually after that gig, we were asked to open for some bigger bands and sorry, going to college. But I kept, it was, I remembered in the back of my mind, that chord progression. And I was probably 19, 20. I don't know. When I actually put some lyrics to it and it was all about, women who would break your heart. And
come here, Heidi. When we talk about women that'll break your heart, everyone, this is my wife of 41 years, the beautiful, the talented Heidi. And she's a music freak. She knows all the stuff.
Hi, John.
How's it going? Good to see you.
What did he say? Did he say hi to me?
Yeah, he said, "Hi, how's it going?" And you can tell him just awful.
No, it's going great. They're coming to look at my bathroom for a remodel. So
Oh, Tim's making big bucks doing
Oh
that.
yeah,
So,
you can afford a bathroom remodel in a mobile home.
crowns on his teeth, bathroom remodels.
Crowns. Oh please.
Anyway,
Getting old.
was I? Oh, so I took it and I wrote this whole thing about these, girls that'll break your heart, and they don't care about you really. Everyone goes through that, but I had particularly some experiences with friends of mine seeing, like, when you're outside the situation and you can see it more clearly.
Oh yeah,
When
absolutely.
you're in it, you just don't even. And so I remember thinking like, oh, that girl's gonna
Yeah,
about you.
yeah.
But later on, before we recorded, because that was like, that was a while ago. I'm 35, so we're talking 15 years ago. I rewrote the whole thing. I left a few lyrics, but I thought Proverbs 6 woman, Proverbs 7 woman, a warning to men about this. And, I've seen that. Obviously, you as a pastor have seen that affect men in your own congregation, I'm sure, where it's like, it literally says, I think it's in Proverbs 7, that, her way is the way of death, and she'll reduce you to a loaf of bread, which is one of the lyrics I used.
Yeah, I thought it was a great. There's kind of a principle in songwriting and music that you want the lyrics and the music to work together, so that you communicate your idea well. And not all music works with all lyrics. So in this case, it's a little bit of it. It has that kind of foreboding rock riff. That's a little minor. Watch it, dude.
Yeah, and
it works.
The heart rush you get, sort of, it builds on itself. So it's like, even the initial. Let me see if I can play it at the end here,
where it goes bam, bam, bam.
Oh, I'm playing my GarageBand thing. Let me find.
I'm sure you guys did it justice.
Yeah, right. All right, so here it is.
Oh yeah, that works great.
It's supposed to be a dissonance, so like something's wrong. It's a warning, and I wanted it to be that way. So in the background, as your heart starts rushing, as it's going to be fast. We're going to have a good time. This is going to be action packed. But in the background, underneath all of that, is this little voice, this little warning. Something's wrong. Something's wrong. Something's wrong. And then, I mean, that's how it works, right? So like you get swept away. Like, what does James says? Lust conceives. So like
birth to death.
You just ignore that, and then it's all the excitement, right? But then at the end of the whole thing, the excitement wears off, and what are you left with? And that's the point. So
the part of the voice of conscience will be played by the guitar arpeggios.
Yeah,
it's what it is.
And it was important that was acoustic to me too, because it sounds more real in a way. Like it's just, there's no modification. There's no effect. Now you're getting,
there's timed delay that, like if you put 4/4 and 6/8 together, there's triplets, but it's da 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 da, 1 2 3 4. Put that all together, and it just kind of, it tends to be able to take each note and harmonize with itself as you're playing them. So if you notice, as it fades out, you get the effect of that, and yet it's still acoustic. So yeah, I love doing stuff like that. If someone has an idea, especially to bring your listener into the song rather than just starting that's way cooler. Set the mood and then take us in. Oh, grandpa song.
Yeah, this is the last two. So this one, it's funny. The people who have listened to this, and it's obviously not released until tomorrow, but I've let some of the patrons, patreon.com/ I think it's John Harris Podcast. Anyway, they all have had access to this for about a week. And I didn't think anyone would really care about this one as much because it's about my grandpa and not about theirs. So I was like, well, I mean, this is for my family, more or less. I've gotten more comments about this song than any of them. People,
awesome.
I think they had a similar relationship with their grandpa. So this is kind of cool. Maybe I'll let this play through unless I think of something. But there's a lot of pictures here. I mean, that's me when I'm little. That's baby John right there.
Yeah, now that looks just like you.
It
your mom's like, is that supposed to be you? Because I don't remember that baby.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it actually looks a little bit like my daughter too, but like certain sense, all babies look the same, right?
What a cute little boy! It's a girl.
It's a boy.
I'm not walking that back.
That you better get that one straight. I was a boy. Yeah. But that's my grandpa on the floor. So anyway, we'll play.
Awesome.
I met him for the first time over 30 years ago, and on his knees I would write. Now I wonder if he knows that his silent ways and smiling face beneath that old bed cap were a welcome sight after every flight I took to see him again. It ain't like those good old days no more. He used to make me presents and play with me on the floor, and it's a shame.
For those curious about what Gordon Sanchez, aka my brother, looked like as a kid,
Gordon Sanchez.
He's holding a snow cone that's green. So he was the blonde hair kid. I was the brown hair kid. That's,
Gordon Sanchez, boy.
Gordon Sanchez, aka
David. You gotta let him loose more often. It's so good.
That was at an air show. It was a World War I air show, not World War II. So that was biplanes, and my grandpa was a World War II vet. He was in the Army Air Corps, but in the specific theater. But anyway, I still remember that. I remember this day vividly.
That's cool.
Yeah, days where I was probably, how old do I look like? 7, maybe? I mean,
8. Yeah, 7, 8.
I mean, I remember that day. I remember what I had for lunch. It's just crazy.
Boy,
anyway,
core. They call that a core memory.
It is a core memory, but I have a lot of those. I mean, so I lived in New York, and my grandpa was in California. I was born in California, but we moved to New York when I was young. So we would go back often to visit, and I lived with him for about a year in 2011 and 2010, 2011. And, I had a special relationship with him. People said I looked like him and so forth. You'll see I show you some of the pictures when he was a young man, but I mean, he's from Mississippi. So a lot of the Southern, affinities I have and so forth are very much from him.
Yeah.
My love of fishing. There's just a lot of things.
Is this your dad's dad or your mom's dad?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
He died last year. He was 101 when he died. He's a hardcore guy, man. He was one of those, worked on the cotton farm, worked on the sawmill, fixed motorcycles, went to war, just blue collar all the way.
He just trucked, no BS.
Oh my! His favorite thing to talk about was, his supervisors who were idiots and how he was, basically when they would do stupid things and how dumb they were. That was
there's a country song. It just wrote itself. My supervisors are idiots.
One of the things the phrase he used that my dad uses and that I use. I mean, there's some of those generational things that get passed down. Was he always talked about educated fools? He's like, and he would say they think they're smart because they, his Mississippi accent, they think they are smart because they went to Harvard, and they couldn't skin a chicken. They couldn't do, they couldn't do anything. They didn't know what they were talking about. And
I love him.
So he was one of those, like, you could just, but anyway, I could go on forever. He's my grandpa, obviously, but here's some more.
That he walked out the door, 'cause it ain't like those good old days no more.
Share the screen.
He told me lots of stories about the things that he once did. scraping by with nothing on a farm as just a kid. Then he worked hard at a sawmill and fixed motorcycles too. Before the war he had a life from Mississippi through and through. And it ain't like those good old days no more. They like to take me fishing in those dickies that he wore. And it's a shame.
Fun fact, that catfish you just saw, that 25-pound catfish, my Uncle Charles was one of the first ones to have a catfish farm for commercial use in Mississippi.
Oh, really?
So he had like $1 million catfish farm, and we would go there. And anyway, that's where that was from. People wonder what kind of fish that is. It's I think a blue catfish.
Oh, that's cool.
25 to 30 pounds. It shows you how little I was.
Huge.
That he walked out the door. It ain't like those good old days no more. Loaded bombs in the Pacific till the war was done. Thought the West Coast was terrific, so California, here he comes. It was there that he met Grandma at a church outside LA. Raised 3 sons and had his fun on a carpenter's wage. It ain't like those good old days no more. He helped me fix my truck up. You could hear the engine roar. And it's a shame that he walked out the door. It ain't like those good old days no more. Talked to him the last time, Christmas of 23. For 101 he felt fine, 3,000 miles away from me. And I told him about his great-granddaughter that he wouldn't live to see. I wish he was there in that empty chair, telling stories to me. It ain't like those good old days no more. One generation to another, old ones die and new are born. And it's a shame that he walked out the door. It ain't like those good old days no more. Sometimes I lie awake at night and think about his life. What he went through for me and you, what must have it been like? 'Cause it ain't like those good old days no more. But they're waiting there in heaven with the sound of angel choirs. One day I'll walk through that open door, so I'll see those good old days once more. Then I'll see those good old days once more.
All right. Well,
Dang, I must be the salt in my popcorn.
my grandma doesn't like her picture being taken, and now I'm gonna
Put her all over the internet.
thousands of people. Yeah.
Yeah.
So she
So
doesn't
a
have
couple-
internet, so it'll be fine.
Couple comments there. Of course, you've got your guitar, the fiddle, David's mandolin, and I had a bass guitar up underneath, But I really like that third high harmony I added to you and David, And then it was completely one of those. I think I don't know if that one was your idea or not. There was one of the let's cut the music there was yours.
Yeah.
That one, I don't know if that was yours or not, but it was like, well, that's perfect right there. Let's do that. And that was a great idea. That's one of those, you're thinking like a producer. You're thinking, oh, less is more here, because then it's going to open back up.
Yeah.
And at first I was like, this is going to be a little weird bringing it back in, but no. You start building as soon as you do that little break. And that was a great instinct on your part to have that happen.
I put a picture of him near the house he grew up in. It was falling apart at that point, but that's the old homestead. And the imagery, I know from my family who knows the significance of some of these things, that's a powerful sound and with an image. And anyway, yeah, I mean, I had a hard time writing it in a way because I kept tearing up even just as I was putting lyrics together. And
well, you realize what a blessing it was God gave you, that you would know your grandpa all the way into your young adulthood. This is awesome. My son to this day, see, my dad died in 94. Aaron was born in 90. I could show you pictures where they're just tight as thieves, thick as thieves. He tells me to this day that he feels like there's this kind of, that should have not happened, the void from his grandpa, because they loved each other. My dad would come through the woods on his old Alice Chalmers tractor just to see Aaron. Because Aaron was the first grandkid, and he's big old bald head.
I'm learning about that now with my own parents. Like, it's you'll do anything to go a chance to see the grandchild,
As we make this joke, but paraphrase Master and Commander, when Maturin can't go to the Galapagos, all plans are subject to the requirements of the grandkids.
I've seen that movie, but it was a long time ago. I don't remember that.
Was it all plans are subject to the requirements of the service?
Okay.
We got to go chase the Acheron,
Yeah.
That's just, I love that. And
I remember as a kid, I would hear people say, I'm moving, basically across the country to be with the grandkids. And I always thought that was a curious thing. I'm like, why would you do that?
Yeah.
But now I'm like, oh yeah, totally. I totally understand why you would do that.
Yeah.
Sell the old house, do whatever you got to do to be near the grandkids. So.
But hey, don't you go veering into Ordo Amoris now, John. Come on. No. How dare you move across the country for your own people?
We are all deracinated individuals that can be filled with whatever ideas are out there. There's nothing else to us, right?
Just abstract it all into this amorphous pietistic blob.
Yeah, I mean, you make a good point though by even bringing that up, because what is my political philosophy? Like, a lot of people separate these things. Like, you have your political over here, you don't bring that up at dinner, and then you have your social, or like who you are, what you as a person, as if these are different things. I just played you a song about my politics.
Right.
And it's not about politics. I'm not
right.
But I'm just telling you, like, that's why I think the way I do about so many issues. It's because of you listen to that song, you're going to get a better window into who I am than probably reading any of my books, to be quite honest with you.
All the podcasts you've done over the years, you're like, let me just summarize, listen to this song, and that's the takeaway,
Yeah, I mean, it's all, you love your people, you love your place. It's those little things that you can't communicate well to someone else who doesn't understand them, but they're just specific and special to you that make, like the tractor. You remember that model tractor? That was Dad.
Oh,
that sound. Dad's.
He swapped out the 6-volt system, put in 12 volt to make it more, accommodatable to other, parts and stuff. Oh yeah. I mean, it was just, I wish I'd have bought, I just didn't have a place to store it. I could have gotten it for a song. There's life.
It's life. All right. Last one is called Bible Bred. And this one's just my tribute to hymns. I'm a music director at my church. I know you appreciate the hymns, even on your you even
absolutely
battle hymns. You're doing rock songs, but you're retaining those old rich lyrics. And I grew up on that. My dad was big on teaching us those lyrics. I think I know more hymns than I do scripture. Just because, again, I can the lyrics and matching the music helps me remember. But.
Well, so very quick, my two oldest married kids live in Fort Wayne with their families. They all both go to the same church. Well, it's a little more modern-y church, but when they're ready to, let's do this hymn, they're like, we got this. We know this one.
Yeah, I don't even need the hymn book.
Don't even need. Yeah, we got it. So, I can nail it.
And I realized when that's a longer discussion. But when we dumped the hymns, we
Yeah.
huge disservice. And so
That's all Calvary Chapel's fault, you know.
it's
Ultimately,
entirely right.
yeah.
Well, this is a good time to plug I've come up with a name. It's going to be called the Music and Masculinity Conference this September. So it's happening, and featured speakers, myself, 80 Robles, Tim Bushong. We got some more, so that's coming. Stay tuned. I'll tell you more about it. But this song,
Can't wait.
Go ahead.
Can't wait. I've got some stuff already getting prepared for that.
So I'm not going to play this whole song. This is a long one, just like the last one, and we're coming up on a long. We're like an hour and 40 minutes in, but I'll play the end of it a little bit. The whole theme is that there's different hymns that I think mean more at different points in life, and I don't know, like songs.
Well, and then the other thing, just folks, you wrote the verses, and then you take lyrics to the old classic hymns that you're talking about, and put them with this melody that's the same in each chorus. And you're like, oh yeah, I know that, and
yeah, I was lazy, man. Half the song I was already written. So
when Travis was doing the fizz, oh yeah, I know this.
Oh, did he? Yeah, that was great.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll play like kind of, this is around the let's see, Amazing Grace. Oh, we're gonna go. We'll play around here. So it starts with like salvation and the development of a Christian.
Yeah,
that's a theme of two of the songs in this album. But you know, at the end, you're going into glory, and so each hymn is for like each step of the way. Justification, sanctification, glorification, and the hymns associated with these. So
I proved him o'er and o'er. Jesus, Jesus, precious Jesus. Oh, for grace to trust him more. Then one day, when life is ended, and the good Lord calls me home, I will go to be united with the saints of ages past, the victory won. Will the circle be unbroken by and by? Better home awaiting in the sky, Lord, in the sky. Will the circle be unbroken by and by, Lord, by and by? There's a better home awaiting in the sky, Lord, in the sky.
Definitely sounding song. There's no like real traditional kind of country stuff.
Yeah, we hear David's high harmony, his voice, he makes it break a little bit at certain times. It's just how he sings. Originally on that one, I had on my harmony, I was like, oh, this would be cool. I'll do that. Like the old Linda Ronstadt song. It didn't quite work. So I was singing it straight, whatever. But I thought it came out really nice. Got the mandolin, the banjo, just nice slow. And then the fiddle. Beautiful. Beautiful.
Yeah, the fiddle helped a lot with that. And you actually took my harmonica and made it sounded like a mosquito at first. And
I just had to fatten up the EQ for all you.
I don't even know all these things, but you
tech heads.
And yeah, I should probably show everyone. Let's see if I can find it. My wife made a little like she drew. I said, could you driving down a mountain road? Could you make my little truck? I got this Ford Ranger. You've seen it. It's got a little back. I was like, I've had 4 trucks in my life. This is all I've ever owned. Yeah, I've only had Ford trucks. My grandpa only ever had Ford trucks. Pretty sure, yeah, my dad is Ford truck. Like we just do Ford trucks. And when I was growing up, we zipped around. My grandma had a Ford Ranger, and my first truck was a 5-shifter 88 Ford Ranger, and then now I have actually it's a 2006 Ford Ranger.
Wow.
Because I totaled my 2011. I was very mad about that
Yeah.
in an ice storm. But when I was dating my wife, there's this big mountain I had to go over in the Shawangunk. It's actually pronounced Shawangum, but the Shawangum Range, and it's to get to her house. She lives in the Catskill Mountains. I was in the valley. I was a valley boy dating a mountain girl.
Dang. How did that work out?
I don't know, Tim. Maybe it's not. No, I'm just kidding. No, it does. And David actually joked once. He said John likes the Catskill Mountains so much he married them. So it was an incentive. I have to say, the drive to her house. I go over this hill, and I said, make my truck coming down a mountain road. So she drew this this little sketch or whatever. So let me see if I can pull it up.
There it is.
There's this little bitty sketch. Driving down.
Right. There's the truck.
There it is. There's
those coniferous trees.
There's pine. Yeah, these are not the Catskills. That's a little more drastic. That looks like maybe, I don't know, sort of like the Matterhorn or something.
See, I'm a sucker for just black and white simple album covers.
Well, there you go.
That's beautiful.
So if you want the album, you can go to johnharristunes.com, buy it at any of the streaming services. I also you can order a physical CD. I'm going to have autographed CDs hopefully soon, but I can't guarantee I'll get them to you before March because that service that you told me about, Kunaki.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I did everything. And then they were like, well, we'll get this to you by February 25th or something. I was like, really? That seems like a long time.
Oh, I wouldn't believe them. Okay. I did a project just in November, and it was here in 3 days.
Okay, because they shipped it yesterday, and I was like, that's kind of weird that it's going to take that long.
They shipped it?
Yeah, they shipped it yesterday, yeah.
Well, you're good. Yeah.
All right, well, next week I'll have it for you. You want an autograph?
I think I'm just getting used to people will just overextend what it may take, and then all of a sudden there it is. You're like, what in the world?
And you're happy. I know, it's psychological.
You're happy, right? Right. Well, I hope let me know. I hope everything turns out well with the hard copies. So let me just say this, it's always fun in the end. Cause from my mixing and mastering, I tend to, I'll quote lose sleep. The meme where the guy's laying over here and his wife's like, oh, I wonder what he's thinking about. No, for me, it's always, gee, I wonder why I can't get the snare drum to sit right in that mix. Something completely innocuous.
Yeah.
But when you're finally putting a project all together, and you've got all the tracks, and you've got to make them all, the vocals have to be at about the same level each song, even if it's a quiet song or a rock song. It's always fun when you put a fork in it and you're like, all right, I've listened to it in my car. We're done.
The car test.
That's right.
No, I appreciate it. Thank you for helping me with this and making honestly a dream I've had for years come true. I would love to do more of this. And if there's some Nashville musician who wants someone to write some songs for him, let me know.
Yeah, let John know.
I'm cheap. I'll give it to you. I probably need a manager if that ever happens.
Definitely need a music attorney and all that stuff.
Yeah, that's a thing, right? Yeah.
Oh, that's it. That's the weak link in my entire music career was publishing and copyright. And
yeah, I hate administration. So
me too. Me too.
You made this album, come alive. And if anyone else wants to record and make their all their wildest dreams come true,
vote for Pedro.
T. Bush Studios in Syracuse, Indiana. You can find Chong on Facebook. And that's probably the best way to reach him. So
yeah.
With that, thank you, Tim.
Yeah, thank you. And again, keep up the good work. I'm a fan of the podcast and your guests. And in fact, I just reached out to Chris Wiley and said, "Wow, that was interesting."
Oh yeah,
AI. Yeah,
great.
Trust me, AI is trying to trying to get me to use their stuff to make my mixes better.
This whole conversation has been AI.
Right?
Real.
This isn't really me.
Oh,
We just sampled my voice and typed it out. Yeah, that's right.
all right. Well, God bless Tim. I'll
Yeah, blessings on you.